Hey, we're here today to talk about 10 postpartum struggles that a lot of women face. So, postpartum is something that we do talk about a lot more, what we're going through. Postpartum depression has become a much more popular topic to talk about. We're hearing more about the postpartum anxiety, postpartum rage. These things are coming out, and people always talk about it and say that it does exist, and I suffer, or this person suffered, and help is out there. And I've always been kind of unclear as to what that help is. No one really says what the help is, right? So, I go to my doctor and she asks how I'm doing in my 8-week visit. And I tell her, I've been having a lot of rage. I'm having a lot of trouble. My doctor responds, that can happen, which is really what she responds to most things that I say. And then, you go to, okay, should I see a therapist? I'm not sure. What therapist do I see? And part of the problem is that I have this rage because I have so much to do and not enough time to do it. And now you want me to add therapy onto that as well. Like, when am I supposed to do the therapy? So, we hear there's a lot of solutions. We're still trying to find out what those solutions are, but I think one of the solutions is knowing what you're feeling is normal and that other women are going through it as well. So that's why today we're going to talk about 10 different struggles, both mental, emotional, physical, that we do go through postpartum. So the first thing that we have is one that we're probably all heard about. It's just the emotional roller coaster that you go through. As I do this video, I'm about 7.5, 8 months postpartum, and some of these symptoms are subsiding, but some of them are still very much there. I'm not on the constant emotional roller coaster. It just shows its head once in a while now, but it's still part of my life. So, the emotional roller coaster is feeling angry 1 second, crying the next, laughing 2 minutes later, being so happy that your baby's so wonderful 5 minutes after that. Your emotions are just all over the place, and this is completely normal. The second struggle is mental chaos. So we're doing so much once we have a baby, and especially if we're going back to work and, a lot of other things are going on. Maybe it's during COVID and you're in, isolation, what's going on. So you're trying to keep a clean house. You're trying to take care of this infant. You're trying to take care of yourself. You're trying to cook nutritious meals. You may have a toddler or other children that need taken care of as well. And constantly in your head, what do I have to do? This. There's this mental chaos, and you can't iron it out. You can't smooth it out. You can't control it. It's just constantly going on. I think before I had babies, I was able to control this mental chaos a little bit. But after this, having postpartum and after going through pregnancy, I have so much trouble with the mental chaos. And again, it's something that has gotten better over the 7.5 months, but still very, very much there. And a lot of these symptoms, the postpartum symptoms, can go on for up to a year. So just something to be aware of. But, you will eventually get back to where you were. You just have to know that these are things that can happen, and be patient with yourself and the people around you as you try to figure out what to do. The third thing is loss of core strength. So this doesn't happen to everyone, depending on how big our baby is, how much weight we gain, how many children we've had, whether or not you get a hernia. Things like this are gonna change that, but we will lose core strength when we're pregnant and then after we have the baby. So it's much more likely that we'll injure our backs will hurt, we're not gonna be able to pick up things that we used to be able to pick up. So we do wanna focus a little bit when we do have time for self-care on getting that core strength back, because it's gonna help us be stronger, it's gonna help us to prevent injury, and help us to carry heavier things as our baby continues to get heavier as well. Number 4, I always think is funny because, we always hear about what great multitaskers moms are, but I really feel like, especially after my second baby, I am completely incapable of multitasking. I have so much trouble doing more than one thing at a time. And I think when I have to, which is often, this is what brings up some of the postpartum rage that I was referring to as well. I think it's always when you're trying to make dinner for your toddler while feeding your newborn and make a meal for you and your partner and everything else. And then all of a sudden now the dog needs food and someone's knocking on the door and this is happening. And it's just, I'm not capable of handling all this as I used to normally would just be, just take one thing at a time, it'll be fine. I kind of struggle to get that mentality. So I think the inability to multitask is something that I really struggle with postpartum. Number 5, we have just a complete change in your life. So you get used to your life, you get used to thinking a certain way, doing things a certain way, taking care of yourself a certain way, cleaning your house a certain way, whatever it may be, socializing with friends at certain times. Everything seems to change, and it's important to kind of stay on top of that change and be okay with that change, because it's part of life. Change is part of life no matter where we are or what we're doing. Sometimes it's just hard because it's a lot at once. So just know that this is a struggle that most people do have. Postpartum is just that change of life, and maybe it's grieving your old life, what your old life used to look like, or just having that inability to adapt to the new life. Struggle number 6. Newborns can be very difficult, especially if they're colicky, gassy, whatever it may be. Some are easier than others, but in general, they are difficult because we just don't know what they need, how to help them, anything like that. So just keep in mind that newborns can be difficult, and it's temporary. It only lasts for a little bit. And I know everyone says this, and I feel like a cliche saying it, but you are going to miss these days one day. And, just try to take a deep breath and be there for your baby and be what the baby needs. Number 7 is the relaxin in our body that we hear about often when we're pregnant, is that our ligaments become much softer, and that's to help our body expand for the baby. It does still exist in our body after we have the baby, and sometimes it can exist for a while. I think breastfeeding prolongs this as well. So for me, I always had trouble with pregnancies and postpartum with my hips just being not strong enough, because the ligaments were just so soft that I felt like I was almost hyperextending them. I didn't have that power coming from my hips that helps me again to carry stuff or do physical things that I'm used to. So this is something that does come back as well, but again, something that not a lot of people talk about. So you're left sitting here like, what's going on with my hips? Why are my shoulders feeling so weird, or whatever it may be? And just to be mindful that even the year after you have a baby, you are a little bit more prone to injury as well, not just during pregnancy. So be careful when you are working out. Don't overstretch. If you're someone who does yoga or stretching, try not to overstretch your ligaments, because right now they're like silly putty. They're just kind of stretched out and they don't snap back. So we want to keep that muscle around it nice and strong. So if you are working out and you get a chance to work out your core, but also try to just kind of get the muscles around your ligaments nice and strong as well. Number 8, nutrient depletion. So when you're pregnant, the baby is literally sucking all the nutrition out of you. And when you're breastfeeding, the baby's sucking all the nutrition out of you. And it's important that as you continue on your breastfeeding journey, or if you're not breastfeeding after you're pregnant, you put those nutrients back into your body. So want to make sure you're eating lots and lots of nutritious foods, lots of fruits and vegetables, lots of good sources of protein, nuts, seeds, legumes, whole grains, whatever it may be, to get that nutrient back in your body, because we do need it. And we want to make sure, again, also getting a good source of calcium in our diet, because calcium is something that the baby just sucks and sucks and sucks out of you, and you also need. We don't want to be left with osteopenia or osteoporosis. So make sure that you're getting that nutrient restoring going on in your life. You're getting that food, you're getting the nutrition you need, because it's so, so important during this time. Number 9, something that pokes its head up a lot, is our desire to return to our normal lives, what things used to be like. And I'm not saying necessarily not having the responsibility of kids, but maybe we want to return to a normal night's sleep, or our bodies being back to the way they used to, or whatever it may be. It does take time. It does happen. Sometimes our body doesn't go completely back. And I think what's most important is to learn to love your life the way it is, learn to love your body the way it is. It may go back. Things could be different. We don't know. But, if we're dwelling on the past and what used to be, it's going to be harder for us to find happiness in life. So again, it's important to keep up with the change and accept the change as the way it is. And the number 10 struggle for postpartum is that all your relationships are going to change in your life. And again, just something that you have to be okay with. Change doesn't always mean bad. It's just going to be different. So whether it's the relationship with your partner, your siblings, your parents, your friends, your coworkers, whatever it is, most relationships are going to be different. There may be one or two that don't change too much, but we have this big priority in our life that we didn't have before. You're not going to be able to prioritize everything else in your life quite as much as you used to. So you want to just really focus on what these relationships are now and making the relationships the best they can be in this new stage of your life. So there we have it. Those are 10 postpartum struggles that many women go through. Not a lot of people talk about many of them. Postpartum care is something that is so lacking in this country, and it's so important. So, we can't really depend on our OBGYN. They're not going to be very helpful with that. And I think as women right now, we need to depend on each other. And maybe if we keep depending on each other and making it a bigger and bigger thing, it's something that future women and future generations will have more support with, which is really the hope. I hope everyone has a great day. Cheers.